Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to my review of the Gamdias Hermes RGB mechanical gaming keyboard. And this is, I can say without hesitation, the most excited I've ever been to review a mechanical gaming keyboard, because you'll see exactly why as I start talking about the product's features. And I don't even want to devote any time in this video to doing the product unboxing because I really just want to start talking about the keyboard's features. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so now the internet has a permanent record of me lying on camera, but Gamdias packaging is too nice not to showcase it at least a little. So taking out the keyboard from the box, you can see. As always, Gamdias leaves you with very few frills, and they usually include stickers, but I don't think this keyboard came with stickers. The detachable wrist rest is the only other accessory that you'll find in the package, because look how nifty this is. The keycap puller has a cutout for it to keep with your keyboard in the back. I don't know why this hasn't been thought of sooner. I'm pretty sure somebody has done this before Gamdias, but this is the first time I've ever seen it. Before talking about keyboard functionality, one of the more prominent features to me is the brushed titanium color. And this, to me, is the coolest color on any gaming peripheral I've ever seen. And the entire aluminum frame, except for the plastic back, leaves the keyboard with almost no flex whatsoever. The wrist rest attaches through these two cutouts, and I do always like seeing the wrist rest being removable as a feature, so it accommodates a wider variety of gamer preferences. I personally prefer not to have a wrist rest. These two tabs act as risers. You have 5 very deeply textured anti-slip feet. As mentioned, a removable keycap puller, showing us the Gamdias certified blue switches. Kala blue, not Cherry MX blue, because most manufacturers have adopted the cheaper but still plenty amazing Chinese produced instead of the German Cherry MX switches, because Cherry's patent expired. The braided but non-gold plated USB can be routed through the channels in the back to help declutter your desk by having the cable run whichever direction you want it to run. I do wish that the aluminum frame had a lot smoother of a surface instead of the ridges that you can feel. This doesn't affect the performance of the keyboard in the slightest. It's just a small aesthetic consideration that I would have preferred. So let's talk about the keyboard's functionality and its overall feel. So I dimmed my studio lights to better demonstrate the lighting effects of the Gamdias RGB mechanical keyboard, and I just have to say that my camera does this keyboard absolutely no justice in conveying how brilliant these lights look under low room light. And the neonish effect, I wouldn't say is as vibrant as the previous Gamdias Hermes keyboard I reviewed, but the lighting effects are still pretty darn stunning. So there are 4 main effects that you can access without using the Hera software bundled with the Gamdias Hermes drivers. So the 4 main plug and play effects are the wave effect that you see now, which you can adjust the direction of by holding FN and left or FN and right. You can also adjust the speed of the waving by holding FN and page up or FN and page down. And the next effect that you can access without using the Hera software is the Rotary Effect, and you can also change the direction by holding FN and left or FN and right, and the speed by holding FN and page up or FN and page down. The next effect is the slide in effect, I suppose you call that, and you can adjust the speed of this by holding the FN and up and down, don't do anything, FN and page up or FN and page down, and the directional keys do nothing for this effect. And finally, you have 1 static color that unfortunately you cannot adjust without using the Hera software, and it's tied to the different profiles that you set up top. So you cannot adjust the one static color light effect on the fly, but you can adjust the brightness of all the effects by holding FN page down and FN and page up. The key switches on the Gamdias Hermes RGB gaming keyboard are the equivalents of Cherry MX Blues. Most manufacturers have jumped ship from using authentic Cherry MX switches because Cherry's patent expired and the cost of manufacturing is greatly reduced by using Chinese-made copies. And unless you are a die-hard mechanical keyboard enthusiast, you probably aren't going to notice a difference in longevity or performance of the Chinese copies of the Cherry MX switches versus authentic Cherry MX switches. So Cherry MX Blue key switches and their associated copies are arguably the most common Cherry MX switches available on mechanical keyboards. And what is distinctive about these type of key switches is you have two levels of feedback. The first is an audible click. And as you press the actuation point of the key, you'll feel a bump. So two levels of feedback. The level of pressure needed to activate the keys is about average compared to some of the lighter and heavier ones, with Cherry MX Reds being extremely light and Cherry MX Blacks being rather heavy in the actuation force needed to depress the key. But how do you know if Cherry MX Blue key switches are the best type of key switches for your mechanical keyboard needs? You don't unless you've tried them out in depth. And I could talk more about the details of the different type of Cherry MX switches, but I want to keep this video rather succinct. So I will link a few other Cherry MX key switch reviews that I've done in my other gaming keyboard reviews. To access the rest of this keyboard's features, we actually have to use the Hera software that is bundled with the Gamdias Hermes drivers. And the first feature we're going to talk about is key assignment. You can basically remap your entire keyboard to be whatever you want in terms of key presses. So if you want your S key to be the F key, you can go ahead and do that for whatever reason. Next, we have the macro management. You can record macros using this functionality as usual, but what I like about the Gamdias Hermes RGB mechanical gaming keyboard is that you can actually map macros on the fly by hitting FN and F9 to initiate the on-the-fly macro recording. And if you see these three lights blinking at a moderate pace, you know that you are in macro recording mode, so you can just press whatever you want. So let's say a buy command for CSGO, and then once you're finished, you just hit FN and F9 again, and then you hit yes to save it to the G1 macro, which is FN and G1, or you say no to save it to the FN and G2 macro. So we're going to save it to G1, and then you'll see your macro that you recorded on the fly in your macros folder. They're designated on the fly OTF with the date and the time that you recorded the macro, and you can use the macro dashboard to make fine adjustment to your timing delays in between key presses if you want, or even add more chains of command to your macro. So I like the macro dashboard. I've never really had a problem with it. Next, we have the different lighting effects that you can access that you weren't able to access using just plug and play functionality. So first, let's take a look at the custom pattern. Custom pattern, you can basically assign T to be the color that's located on the palette. So next we're going to put the M as that button, and we're going to make the enter that color, and then we're going to make the tab. Let's make the tab light blue. So tabs light blue. So you can go to town with making your entire keyboard custom colors. Next we're going to go to the lighting effects and the breathing. That's always a fun one, and you can change the color that the breathing effect goes to. And all of these, of course, are tied to whatever profile you have set on the right-hand navigation bar. So this is profile 2, and you can access the profiles by hitting FN and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if I go to profile 1, it'll be whatever I have set on profile 1. I forgot what I have set on profile 1, probably just blank keyboard. And then go back to profile 2, it will default to whatever you had on the profile 2 last, and you can also make readjustments if you need to. But going back to the macro or the color dashboard, next we're going to look at what effects do we have. Yeah, we're going to go back to looking at the keyboards on the left hand side. You can choose your static color to be any of the default colors, or you can just use the color slider to adjust for custom shades if you want to. So back to the different effects. We already looked at breathing, rotation, that's one of the default ones. The wave, that's also one of the default ones. And fade outs, this is where if you press a key, it will light up and then fade out, and you can adjust the speed of the fading with the FN and page up, or FN and page down. And you always know when you are actually making changes to your lighting effect, because the 3 lights in the corner will start glowing at a more rapid pace than if you were using on-the-fly macro recording. That's a responsive fade out. And this is the Marquee effect. Let's make it a little bit more, yeah, let's make it yellow, and then you can speed that up. You can also make that go, you can't make this go in different directions. No, wait, no, you can't make this go in different directions. The Marquee effect cannot. This is a good color, light blue. Yeah, light blue is good for Marquee. So is red. Whatever color you want for the Marquee is fun. Next is we're gonna have the ripple. Whoa, whoa. It's quite a light show. Let's slow that down a little bit. Woo. Yep, it's really fun. It's always fun to play with keyboard lighting effects. So after the ripple, we're gonna take a look at responsive fade in, which is the reverse of the fade out, in case you couldn't infer that. Where if you press it, it's gonna start dim and then glow a lot brighter. Who would have thought? The exact opposite of the responsive fade out. And you can adjust the speed that it brightens. So it'll brighten slower, like a very subtle crescendo if you hit FN and page down a lot of times, versus it will have a very sharp crescendo if you hit FN and page up a lot of times. All right, responsive fade out. Ooh, neon. Yeah, the entire keyboard has sort of a neon aura to the lighting effects. I may have mentioned that already, but neon is just cycling through all the colors in one solid keyboard unified color. So yeah, just the speed of the neon cycling. Colorful Marquee, which is the Marquee effect, but with more colors. Next one is what is my personal favorite, the rainbow effect. So I think I'm going to use this effect at a medium speed. And next we have a circular Marquee, which is spiraling towards the center. And of course, we can always adjust the color of the Marquee. The circular Marquee, we have the slide in, which is the default effect, and a rotation effect, which is also a default effect. So I think that pretty much covers all of the different effects that you will be interested in from the lighting options. After that, the keyboard has a feature where you can assign different keys to run a countdown timer and play an associated sound like an alarm or a custom sound, and make custom timers map to macros or keys. But I think that is a very it has very narrow application, so I don't think that's going to be one feature that I'm going to be using very much or talking very much about in this review. So that pretty much covers it for all of the features of the Gamdias Hermes RGB gaming mechanical keyboard. And now on to my final thoughts about the keyboard's performance and relative value. Before I give my final assessment of the Gamdias Hermes P1 mechanical gaming keyboard, let's review some of its best features. The brushed bluish-gray titanium color of the aluminum frame is one of the coolest colors I've ever seen used on a mechanical gaming keyboard frame. The lighting effects themselves are gorgeous with a lot of customization options to choose from. I really like how the frame is recessed relative to where the keycaps end to give the lighting effects a little bit more of a bleed-through effect. Some will not like this feature, but I really do because I like the bleed-through effect, and it makes the keycaps a lot easier to clean with how much space there is between them. The typing experience of using the Gamdias certified copies of the Cherry MX Blue key switches is pretty much in line with what you would get typing on authentic Cherry MX Blue switches with Cherry MX stabilizers, and the quality control seems to be on point relative to some other Gamdias Hermes keyboards I've reviewed. The only thing I have to nitpick about the quality control is the USB connector. It's advertised as being gold-plated, but mine, if it is actually gold-plated, it has maybe 1 atom thick of a plating layer, so I couldn't really tell the gold plating, but it really shouldn't affect performance at all, really. The drivers are easy to use. The keyboard has plug-and-play functionality, so you have basic functionality without needing to use drivers, including changing some of the lighting effects, which are easily navigable too. Let's see. Well, yeah, this keyboard really has a lot of features packed into it. Oh, removable wrist rest. Yes, I really like the option to remove the wrist rest because some will like typing with a wrist rest, and some keyboards have integrated wrist rests, which make those a deal breaker for those who do not like typing on keyboards with integrated wrist rest, but having the option to use a wrist rest or not is very important of a feature to me. So let's summarize. The Gamdias RGB, let's go with the proper name. The Gamdias Hermes P1 RGB mechanical gaming keyboard is not yet released to consumer sales. So let's tie everything together for the video's conclusion. The Gamdias Hermes P1 RGB mechanical gaming keyboard is not yet released for public consumer sales. This is an early review sample that Gamdias was able to get to me because Gamdias is amazing to work for as a reviewer, and I will disclose that in this video I did not receive any financial incentive to make the review of the Gamdias Hermes RGB mechanical gaming keyboard, and thus all opinions expressed in this video are my own, and I have complete creative honesty in the content of my video. So moving on, when this product does release, I do anticipate that it will launch at a price point much lower than the Corsair RGB aluminum framed keyboard, which is going for about $180 on Amazon right now. I do believe that this will be aggressively priced with an MSRP of about $150. The MSRP has not been listed on the website yet, but of course we know that everything sells for lower than MSRP, so once sales begin, I do anticipate that you will be able to get this keyboard in all of its glory at around $100 to $120, with really good sales pushing the price even lower. Oh, the thumbs down is not the quality of the keyboard. The thumbs down is the price. So lower price is good. But yeah, this keyboard is very aggressively, will be very aggressively priced relative to the competition, and the Gamdias Hermes P1 RGB mechanical gaming keyboard is Gamdias' most ambitious keyboard design to date, and I hope it will be aggressively priced for a very threatening alternative to the Corsair offering on the market, which is cream of the crop, so to say, for RGB aluminum framed keyboards, and I can hardly find anything at fault with the Gamdias Hermes. I give the Gamdias Hermes P1 mechanical gaming keyboard a review score of A- with the possibility of moving to an A or even an A+, depending on how aggressively priced it is. Thank you very much for watching my review. My name is David, and I hope to see you back for my next video. Damn it, I choked on the last sentence of this review. Never a really good lasting impression.